The bottom line, though, is that for the past 4 years, I think a lot of Americans have been pointing a finger at Donald Trump and saying, there's the racism, we don't want that. They've been saying, there's the misogyny, we don't want that. They've been saying, these are the excesses and we don't want that. But you can't put it all off on Donald Trump. He got 70 million votes to Biden's 74 million, all right? Pretty close. It's us. We've never come to grips with our racism. We haven't come to grips in many cases with our misogyny. There are so many things that we put off on our politicians. And I think there's a lesson here too in Lebanon. We put it all off on the politicians and we blame them. But at the end of the day, we need to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, is it really about us? Are we the ones that have to change? What we've learned is mail-in ballots and early voting. We had 2 weeks during which we could go any day, any time, and cast our ballots. For me, that worked because I'm casting that ballot in person. I don't have to worry about, Trump put a new postmaster general in there that slowed the whole operation down. This was a president who put, a Raytheon defense contractors lobbyist in charge of the Department of Defense. We have an oil gas lobbyist in charge of the Department of Energy. The lobbyists got everything they wanted. There was nothing they could dream of that they didn't get under the Trump administration. That has to change. We have to have leaders in cabinet level positions that are different. The same goes for Lebanon as well. I have mixed feelings about this. When we talk about the media and elections, specifically in the United States, we have 3 24-hour-a-day news networks. And if in the last 3 months, you watched all 3 of them 24 hours a day, you wouldn't have a clue what was going on in the world. And the reason is because all they covered was politics. And they covered it, CNN and MSNBC, even more so, covered it from a Democratic perspective. Many more Democratic guests than GOP guests. Fox News, exclusively the conspiracy theories, the Trump rallies, all the things they could do to highlight the president. It was very polarized. It has become more and more polarized. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think Americans being ignorant of what's going on in the world is healthy. Believe me, they get no news about what's going on in the world. None. 4 more years of Trump, I think, would have been disastrous. We don't, it's not just democracy. We call it the democratic experiment. It's an experiment. We don't know if this is going to work or not. I'm always optimistic, but I try to be a realist as well. And I think it's a time for us to be relieved. It's a time for us to be hopeful, but it's also a time for us to realize all the work that's got to be done and ask ourselves, what part are we going to play? Yeah. What are we going to do to make it better? Instead of pointing a finger at somebody else and say, well, I want them to do this, or I want them to do that, or I need this, or I need that. We all have to look deep inside ourselves and answer that question, because we're going to get the government we deserve.